Subsequently, they sold 51% of that to investor Glen Henderson. And I imagine a lot of people in this room, until the 5th of July, had never heard of Glen Henderson. Is that a fair comment to make? Good to see you, Glen. I'm going to introduce the panel, and we'll start with Glen. Glen Henderson, football club chairman, born in Hartlepool, moved to South Africa, played national level youth football, and was semi-pro in South Africa as well, and represented the under-19s. And then was awarded a scholarship to go to the USA. It was a football and education scholarship. And out of that, Glen holds an international marketing and management degree and a BA in business administration. So Glen has got a business background. He co-founded a children's multi-sport program with franchises across America, which he sold in 2018. And he's also owned and operated 2 restaurants and a tap room bar whilst in the US as well. So, as I say, Glen has got experience in business, in commercial, in hospitality, and it's good to see you this evening. The far side, we have Alastair Smith. I've known Alastair since the early 90s, he's a familiar face on the terraces. Alastair originally was from Pocklington, and he started up the Pocklington branch of the York City Supporters Club. He then moved to Kent through his work at Kimberley Clark, and was a founder in the setting up of the London and South East branch of the Supporters Club, which is now commonly known as York City South. And he was still the chairman of York City South? Yeah, he's still the chairman of York City South as well. A recent addition to the trust board, he contacted the trust to get involved, and when the takeover was complete, he was appointed the chief executive. And as I say, he's a qualified accountant, 28 years with Kimberley Clark, holding various senior financial roles in the UK and abroad, and Alastair comes with a wealth of business experience, knowledge and expertise. Welcome, Alastair. And in the centre, John Askey. Sir John. It's a bit of a whirlwind for John, because he joined the football club in November, invited by Steve Watson to help to support him, and after one match, the curse and curse, as we call it as fans, Steve departed the football club, and John was invited to take over in an interim role till the end of the season, and that was back in November. Results improved, progress in the FA Trophy, a Manager's Month award in February, and John was offered a permanent position as manager, which he kindly accepted, and that was in March. He then led us to the semi-finals of the FA Trophy, and then, of course, end of the season, promotion, through the playoffs, and we're now in the National League. And then on Saturday, great performance, we refer to it as perfect, 2-0 victory, and I think it's our highest league position since we've been for 5 years. 4,000 crowd, 2,100 season tickets, which I think is a club record. We've never had that many before. So everything is on the up, and we're going to go home now. But tonight, this is your opportunity to pose your questions to the people in control. We want to hear your good things about the football club, what can be done better, and then anything general. Just some other introductions we've got. We've had some new staff joining the club over the summer. Liam, commercial manager. Liam McGuinness left, and we're delighted to welcome Liam Armstrong, who's at the back of the room. He's our commercial manager. Media-wise, Friday, Dan, who's done a sterling job for about 3 years, and is tonight broadcasting this live on YouTube, is departing the football club. He goes with our best wishes, but his successor is at the back of the room. That's Kieran Archer, and if I can ask you please to give a big welcome to Kieran. Right, the first part of tonight is football-related questions. We're going to talk about business in the boardroom later. We're going to start with football. So these may be directed more to John, but I'm sure Alastair and Glen may want to chip in if need be. And I'm going to come round. Please make it as short as possible. We've only got 2 hours. We're going to have a break as well halfway through. So anyone got a question, please raise your hand. I will come with my mic All I ask is you say your name, first name, and then ask your question. So, who's got the first question? Steve.
Hi, John. Steve Saxton. Interesting one in my head and probably in a lot of people's heads. Easter Monday, we come off the pitch at Alfreton. I think most of us are thinking, we've got next to no chance here of making the playoffs, let alone being successful. What happened between then and the end of the season? What happened to galvanise the squad of players?
I think what had happened was that we played Kettering on an awful pitch, and then we played Alfreton on again an awful pitch against teams who basically got the ball back to front as quick as possible, big centre forwards, and we weren't able to cope. So we had to change something, and we did. So when we played at pitches like that, we ourselves went a little bit more direct, and I think we adapted to some of the pitches that we were playing on. At home we were fine. I always felt as though we were in control of most games at home. But away from home it was always a big leveler, and we had to overcome that. But I was probably thinking the same as you at Alfreton.
Was there an attitude change as well, do you think, or was it just down to things like this?
I just think when the going gets tough, you have to get tough yourself, and that's what we instilled into the players. You've got to really fight now. We haven't got many chances left, so we've got to do something about it quickly. And luckily we did. The players responded fantastically, and they did probably from there until the end of the season. So it was a remarkable turnaround.
Yeah, I must agree. I was the same when I left Alfred that day. Next question, please. There must be somebody with a question. Here we go.
First of all, good evening, gents. My name's George Cheek. I'm a lifetime York City supporter, York City Supporters Trust. Everything here is, I think, is fantastic compared to what we had to put up with at Booth Crescent, the ground, the pitch, the whole atmosphere. There's just one thing that I think would add another dimension to the club and the atmosphere. If we could have a proper score screen rather than a scoreboard, I just think it would make it so much better, and you could see, the goal scorers and that. Although Rob does a great job and has done for a number of years, sometimes, especially when there's a lot of noise in the crowd, you can't hear the substitutes or the goal scorer. So I don't know how much these things cost, but I just think it would benefit the crowd.
Yeah, I'll answer that question. Probably about, since I've come in, from the first day, we've had this question posed to us about a new scoreboard. We've been sitting down with a lot of people, the council, GLL who manage the stadium, and we're at a point where the Knights have agreed something, we have agreed something, the council, we're getting there, because we have an issue with the structural part of the stadium where we go. So we're in the process of getting a structural engineer out to actually make sure that the scoreboard that we want can actually fit there because of the wind issues. So we are working on it and we're trying to get through it. It's just going to take some time.
Okay, thanks George. Thanks Glenn. Just a reminder, the first sections are football related questions. So if you've got a question to John, this is your opportunity.
Hi, my name's Mike. On Saturday, the energy level for the players was phenomenal. What do you put that down to? Is any one person responsible for that?
All down to me, obviously. Mike. No, I think pre-season we worked them really hard. We were lucky enough to go to Scotland for 4 days, and we were able to get 4 sessions in a day. And I think you've probably seen that one or two of the performances pre-season have been under par, and that's probably because we've worked them so hard. So when they've gone into games, we've been tired, but it was always looking at the first game of the season. Luckily enough, they turned up and performed really well. But I think the fitness levels are just down to working really hard pre-season, and everybody plays a part. And the people who play the biggest part is obviously the players.
Thank you. Now, Eddie, this way and all on the back, got a question?
Yeah. My name's Tony. Question for John. First of all, thanks, John. It's what a club this is turning into. But how good is Masculia, and how long have we got him for?
Maz is with us for another year. He's done well since he's come in. I still think there's things he can do better, and time will tell over the season. It's still a new level for him. But I thought again Saturday he's done well, and obviously got the first goal and the last goal of the season for the last season. But obviously he's playing international football for his country, which probably helps as well. But it's just nice. I like exciting players, and we've got one or two who can do that. Alex Hurst is obviously promising. Manny is different than what we've had previous as well. He's a bit off the cuff. But as a supporter myself, I want to see players go past other people, especially wide, and obviously Maz does that. And it's been a pleasure to watch so far. Hope it continues.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you, Tony. Next one, please. Don't be afraid. This is your chance
You can go on, can I?
to ask your question.
Good evening, John. My name's Mike. Is there any truth in the rumour that Ryan will be going back out on loan to Scarborough?
Not that I've heard of, not from our point of view. I want two good goalkeepers. At the start of the season, I said to both of them, the positions up for grabs. I felt that Ethan had done slightly better than mine over pre-season. But as we know, as the season goes on, if Ethan's not performing, then we know we've got a good second choice keeper to come in. But also, I'm also aware that he does need game time, and he might get to a stage where we have to look at trying to put him out. But to do that, we need somebody of equal qualities coming in. I think it's important for his development as well, right? Because obviously he's at that age, and we want him to keep pushing on.
Just second one. I noticed that the youngsters who've got the contracts haven't had squad numbers other than one of them. Is there a reason behind that?
Yeah, because at the moment they're not part of the squad. So I think in football, things should be earned. I think people have had things given to them at the football club too easily. And if you get squad numbers because you've been picked for the squad, you don't just get it. And I think it's important for the young lads to know that as well.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Hi, my name's Martin. Just a question really, John, about how you go about appointing the team captain. I think when you arrived at the club it was probably Sean Newton. Since then we've had Brownie, then Paddy, Matt Hancock starting pre-season, and now it's a shot. I just wondered how you go about choosing your captain, what sort of attributes you're looking for, qualities.
I think the main thing is players who do things in the right way, they train properly, conduct themselves properly, and you represent the football club in the right way as well. And Ronaldo does that, and I think the others also did that. Obviously, Sean was already appointed, so we ran with that. But when I appointed Brownie and Paddy, I thought, they always conducted themselves well, and that's obviously the case with them now. So hopefully it'll be a successful one for us. And because every time he plays, he gives his all, and I think that hopefully rubs off on the rest of the players.
And it is noted that Matty Brown's been appointed the captain at AFC Telford.
Many of us were disappointed at the pre-season games. Were you as surprised as we were when they played so well last Saturday? And is that quality and energy level sustainable for the rest of the season?
Oh, we hope so. As I've said previous, I can't remember a pre-season game any other club that I've been at, whether I was a player or as a manager. We're insignificant. The only thing that matters is what we do for the season. And it's always the case. Obviously, how we were playing is always a concern pre-season. But probably that gives myself and the players a kick up the backside as well. But there were reasons why, I think, because we were working so hard. And obviously in the last week of training, we could tail the training so that we were fresh for Saturday. And if you see the running figures were really high, and it showed in the performance. But we set the level now, and hopefully we can maintain it. It's going to be tough because it's a tough league, but we need to. There's no excuse for not running. You can excuse people for having a bad game, control's bad, making wrong decisions. But one thing you can do is run, and we're trying to instill that into them.
One across here. Whilst I get there, quick question. Are we telling our training this week to playing on the 3G at Maidstone on Saturday?
Sorry.
Are we telling our training, because Maidstone have a 3G pitch?
On Friday we train on 3G. I don't like 3G to train on or play on, but it's part and parcel of football now. And so we're training down at Dartford on Friday, and hopefully that'll stand us in good stead for Saturday, because it is a slightly different game when you come on to 3G, but that's no excuse. A lot of them now have been used to playing on it. I think Ryan Fallowfield played on it for quite a few years with Harrogate, so there's one or two who played week in, week out on it.
Hi John, my name's Andrew. In my opinion, I think a lot of the people that you brought into the club are quality, and you've got a real knack for picking up some quality people. I thought Pybus was outstanding on Saturday. I thought he really mopped up and broke up and did a great job. So you clearly obviously have got an eye for talent. Other than obviously people that you know from your past, which obviously is a decent track record, what else do you do to rely on getting to know about other people, other than obviously people that have played for you before?
I just think it's years from being in the game, because football's it's a small community really. There's only so many players you can pick. There's only, so you build up over the years contacts, and then you put into place pretty much a system that you want to play to, and try and pick the squad that's going to fit into the system. So it's pretty simple, really. And hopefully the main thing is getting players with good attitudes. So sometimes a player won't play, but if they train well, if you get players coming in who are not going to train well, and training dips, it has an effect on the team. So I try and get players who are going to do that as well. I think if you train properly, that improves you. Especially if you're closing down and giving people less time on the ball, that improves you as a player, and we need that in training. So that's part and parcel of certain players they bring in. But mainly it's trying to get people to fit to the way that you want to play. And like you said with Dan, luckily he hadn't gone anywhere. I think Lane Norman were going to take him, and then he got appendicitis. For some reason they didn't take him, because he had an appendicitis 4 weeks ago, and he's hardly trained, so he's done really well to start the season. But as I say, you never know. You always need that little bit of luck, and hopefully we get that luck this season. And because I think the club deserves it. I think You know, I feel really privileged. When I first came in, I was asked to be the manager of York, and I'm not just saying it. I was really privileged. Still to this day, I feel really privileged. I think it's a fantastic club. It's gone through 1 or 2 tough times, but hopefully now you're on the up. And whether that's with me or with somebody else, I'm sure that the club is going in the right direction. And with a stadium like this, the potential of the football club, it's only a matter of time, I think. As long as things are run properly, it'll go in the direction you want it to go in.
I think we're lucky to have you.
Hi, my name's Matt. Just wondering who your influences were to be a manager, John.
My first influences was my dad, who used to play football as a professional footballer for 15 years. So he had a big influence on me. And then probably Sammy McElroy at Macclesfield and a chap called Bill Prescott, who gave me my first job as a reserve team manager. But I think you take bits from everybody who you work with. And obviously, I was lucky enough I had a relationship with, not a relationship, without name dropping, Alex Ferguson. I've been lucky enough to get to know him. And I got time to spend quite a bit of time with him before we got ill. And obviously that's invaluable, being able to speak to somebody like that. Because he lives close to Macclesfield and he's a friend of my friends, so that was brilliant. And he was always saying, keep telling the players they're fit, keep telling them they're fit. He says them to start believing it, whether they are or not. Especially on the run-in at the end of the season. So just little snippets of that helps. But overall, there's been a lot of influences. And so I've been lucky. I've been in the game so long, and I was lucky that my dad played and he was able to pass on information to me as well.
Mike Ellis, who do you see as our main rivals for the title this season?
Want to say the obvious? Obviously, there's a lot of big clubs, isn't there? Wrexham being the biggest. They've just spent playing on £6,000 a week Goalkeeper. So that tells you the sort of money that they're spending. And then obviously you've got your Notts Counties, Southend, Scunthorpe, Oldham. They're all big, old, lower league football clubs, aren't they? So it's got to be tough. But what I think we're all looking forward to is to get out of the league that we're in. It was obviously it's been so difficult for the football club to be stuck there, but to get out of it now and we go into those clubs again, I'm excited about doing that. Last thing I wanted to do was be going back to Kettering and Forest, Celtic and teams like that. So now to be going to proper grounds and feeling like a proper football club again feels good.
Thank you.
Hiya, John. My name's Adam. I'm just curious, how true were the rumours of you becoming Notts County's manager at the pre-season?
I was just getting my agent to put that around, that's all. It wasn't true at all. No intention of going anywhere. Maybe if Man United had come in, I probably thought about it, but no, anybody who was in the same league as us, then there's no way that I just didn't want to go anywhere. I've enjoyed it. I felt relaxed coming into the football club. People have made me feel welcome. I think you've got a great city, so why would I want to go anywhere else? And no, nobody. A couple of clubs approached me, but there's no interest.
That's brilliant, because we're very pleased to have you, John. Thank you.
Very good of you.
Hi John, my name is Bill. I'm a long-term supporter of York City. I have a season ticket for about 25 years. I'd like to ask, we've got a very high-quality squad of 25 players now. How do you keep the ones that don't make the match day squad motivated, or was that in the quality of the people that you select?
I think over the season, then everybody will get the chance, and that's what I try to get through to all the players, that at some stage you'll get a chance and you've got to take it. I'm sure over the season that one or two will come and go. You know, if they're not happy then or if they're not performing, then we've got to look to replace them. But the ones that we've got have all got good attitudes. There's nobody that I worry about that hasn't got a good attitude. So, as I say, hopefully we can keep a settled team, but it's very rare nowadays. So you can never keep everybody happy, and if they are happy, then I don't want them really. But it's always a balancing act. Something as a manager you've got to try and cope with.
Hi John, Anthony here. Just echo other sentiments. Thank you so much for everything you're doing for this club. It's amazing. My question relates to your fantastic achievement with Macclesfield under difficult circumstances in winning the title there. I'd like to ask you, how does this squad compare to that title-winning squad that you had at Macclesfield?
It's difficult to say because I think the league's changed a little bit from when we won it with Macclesfield, although it wasn't that long ago. And I think I've probably been doing the job for about 6 or 7 years in Macclesfield. So sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get players that you want to gel, but it was a really good squad that we had, and there was a lot of quality there. But time will tell with these players. So it's difficult to compare because, as I say, I thought the players that I had at Mac were exceptional for the league that we were in, but it has changed. There's a few that I would take from my time at Macclesfield, and there's a few that I would have taken from York to Macclesfield at the time. So it's always difficult, but hopefully this one will be a better one.
Thanks John, good luck.
Thank you.
Was Keith Lowe in your Max team?
Yeah, Keith was exceptional. I think he was about 34, never missed a game. He surprised me, never got booked, very rarely got beat. And this partnership with George Pilkington was great. And hopefully the two who played for us will form as good a partnership as Lowy and Pilks did. But yeah, I think he did well here as well, didn't he? So
yes,
yeah, and a really nice bloke as well.
Oh, hi John, my name's Andy. Are you favour 4-3-3 formation? And the last popular successful manager from the Potteries, Dennis Smith, he was a 4-4-2 man. Would you think you'd ever sort of change or adapt, or do you think you'll just stick with 4-3-3?
Well, Dennis Smith used to be one of my heroes because I was a Stoke supporter. So,
but my father-in-law would be glad because he's a Stoke fan.
So it's great to follow in his footsteps. He was hard as nails. I've never seen a player get cut so much as Dennis Smith. I once saw him play for Stoke. We put him on the right wing with a broken arm. He carried on playing. So, but things have changed in football. And you can talk about systems. There's very few teams now play 4-4-2. I can't think of one at the moment. The majority of teams are playing with 3 centre-halves, wing-backs, or 4-3-3, or playing with a box in midfield. I just think with 4-3-3, whatever system you play against, you can cope with it, and you can adapt. Even though we set up as 4-3-3, we adapt according to how the game is. If we need to change, we can change within that system. So we're not rigid in how we play. but it's been successful for me, so that's the reason why, and I think I found, again, it's getting players to fit in how we want to play, and to play 4-4-2, I think you've got to be better than everybody. You've got to have really good midfield players and be able to keep the ball really well, and as I say, I've never been in that position where I've had a team that's miles better than everybody. If we had, then I would play that way, and it'd be exciting.
Well, Dennis' team back in the day, it was. If you're anything like the next few years, like the team from the 80s, we're in for a fantastic joyride. That's certain, because it was the most entertaining team I've ever seen. There you go.
Yeah, obviously, it's, and all that to follow that there was probably as good a team as York have had. And I remember watching them on telly in the Cup, and they had some fantastic players. And but as I say, hopefully we can write some history as well. And hopefully I'm here when we do that.
Thanks, Andy. Note to Liam. Sent an email to Dennis Smith, came here as a match day guest. Anybody around the back?
Hi, I'm Steve. This is a question for John. Have we any intentions of reintroducing the reserve side?
I couldn't tell you that. Ideally, you would have an under-23s team. It is hard from where we've come from. I think it's a lot easier. If you're a league club, then you're getting funding. When you aren't getting funding, then it's very difficult. But it bridges that gap, having a reserve team football and under-23 football. At the moment, we've got under-18s, and it's very difficult to get under-18s into men's football. It's such a big gap. That's why when we take lads on as first-year pros, we try and get them out on loan as quick as possible. But ideally, you would maybe the chairman has got plans, I don't know. I think he's got one or two things on his, more important things on his mind at the moment. So ideally you would, and I think if we can get in a position to do that, then I'm sure the football club would do that.
Thank you. Next question. And around the middle. Raise your arm. Thank you. You're holding to the land strip.
Hi, I'm Tom. Where do you see the club in 5 years' time?
Difficult to say. I think you have to aim as high up as you can. But ideally, in league football, that's where you want to be. I think once you get into league football, it becomes easier. Financially, it becomes easier. You get bigger crowds, you get funding. But that's the big thing is getting there. It is difficult to get in, especially with just one up and then the playoffs. But hopefully, if we can continue and keep building, then league football.
Hi there, Gordon. Hi, looking at the dugout on a weekend, it very much looks like a good cop, bad cop type situation or dynamic with Kingsley screaming at the players and yourself quite quiet. In terms of your player development style, is there one particular approach that you think works better than the other, just looking at the contrasting styles on the day?
I think for myself, I try and work players out. You try and treat everybody fairly and pretty much the same, but each player works, everybody's temperament's different, aren't they? And you can get the best out of certain players by just giving them a nudge, other players that just need an arm around them. So that's what I try and do. I try and work out the players and what they need. But I think they all need to kick up the backside every so often, which obviously you probably don't see from me on the touchline, but over the years, obviously, you need to do that. But I think the main thing is encouragement. I think whatever job you do, whether it's football, working in local practice, you need encouragement and you need to be wanted and appreciated. Football's people are very critical in football, coaches especially as much as supporters, and it's dead easy to knock people down. So the main thing is encourage them. And it's like players when they play badly, they'll go and look at footage of when they play badly. And I say, don't look at when you play badly, look at when you play well, and go and watch the footage of when you play well, because that's what you're trying to replicate. Don't be looking at the bad bits. So I try to encourage as much as I can, but obviously you've always got to make sure nobody steps out of line as well. And as regards Kingsley's been brilliant. I've been surprised with Kingsley because he's only young, and I think it works well with me being the age that I am, and Kingsley only just finishing playing. And obviously he understands younger ones better than I do, and I think it works well. And yeah, and the good thing about Kingsley, being young, he's not frightened to express his opinion. There's a lot of young people would do, just finishing playing, would be worried, but no, he's been invaluable, Kingsley, and I'm really pleased to be working with him.
And now we're back in the National League. We have fourth officials. I noticed on Saturday Kingsley was expressing his opinions as the fourth official more than once.
Yeah, to be honest, I thought they were lucky to keep all 11 players on the pitch. Michael Douglas now struggling with an injury. Thought we should have had a penalty. So did James. So yeah, I thought we should have had a penalty, and I thought they were lucky. There was a bad tackle on Manel as well, but yeah, you can't win with them. And again, I think it's hard at times not to say anything because you get wrapped up in the game as well as supporters do, because there's so much on it, so much matters. But I try not to get involved. I try and concentrate on the game. And then, luckily, Kingsley's not frightened of letting him know what he thinks.
Hi, I'm David. A slightly different line of questioning. I suspect I'm not the only one here who also has a season ticket for York City Knights, and also York City Knights Ladies, of course, which were currently the most successful team in York. Do you think there are anything that each club can learn from each other in terms of moving forward?
It's a difficult one for me to answer. I know women are taking over, I know that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing either. But no, I think it's hard because I think they're part-time, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So it is difficult to, but probably on the, maybe the other side of it, not so much the playing side of it, maybe, I don't know what the relationship's like between the two clubs, but I think it is important that obviously sharing the same stadium, sharing a lot, then it's important that we have a good link with them and we get on well, because as you say, you support both rugby and the football. If we get one or two of the rugby supporters coming to the football, all the merrier. Yeah, all the merrier.
And on that subject, do we have any ladies with questions? It all seems to be men, so this is your chance, ladies. Questions about the playing side of the club? Here we go.
Hi, it's Angie here. What advice do you give to the players regarding social media, like Twitter and Facebook?
Don't go on it. It's as simple as that. I don't know why they did go on it. I don't. Because these people who, I think majority of the supporters just want to come to the game, try and enjoy the game. Obviously they don't enjoy it if the side loses, but they don't get involved in that side of it. It's only the mindless idiots who tend to go on it. It doesn't matter what you do, there'll always be somebody who's going to criticise you. And sometimes you can get wrapped up in that. And players do, they take it to heart. So they want to read the good bits, but they don't want to read the bad bits, and you can't have both. So just don't want it. And but they're so used to now. They've all got their own Twitter accounts, and it's. But I don't understand why they do. Yeah. If they didn't read it, then you wouldn't have to worry about it. But the biggest problem for me, especially when I was at Port Vale, my family lived in the area, and my dad had played for the football club, and it wasn't me that was affected by it. My family were affected by it, my children, and that's a big problem. So what it's like at the top level, I don't know. It's just it's gone. The biggest thing is that you can't touch them. They can say whatever they want to you, but you can't do anything about it. And as I say, I can take it, but when it affects your family, then it's not right. But, yeah, but that's a good question. Yeah, but I think as regards you were saying about women's football, I think it's fantastic that James watches the women's football. I don't know why. I think for women's football now, because they used to have to play on the worst pitches, they got no support, and now the game's starting to develop. I think that the biggest thing they do that they shouldn't do is compare themselves to the men's football, because it's a different game. The women's tennis don't compare themselves to the men's tennis. I think you have to enjoy it for what it is. But what I took from it was the enjoyment that you saw the women get from it and the supporters. I thought everybody looked as though they were having a great time. And we've lost that a little bit in men's football because there's so much criticism, there's so much on it. Everybody wants to win. But that's why I took from the women's football the enjoyment that came from it. And we need to get some of that back into the men's football, because you're scared sometimes to enjoy it because of what somebody might say, or it's taken the wrong way. But that's just my little bit of saying on women's football. But I think it's great for the young girls now that they feel as though they can play it. There's no stigmatism to it. Because I stopped my daughter playing at 12 because there was a bit of a stigma to it, and she was quite good. But yeah, she still holds that against me now. So.
Yeah, Paula Stenton from the foundation is at the back of the room. The foundation and the York City ladies are connected. It's an exciting season ahead for the ladies, and they've been playing some select games here. The end of last season, the junior finals nights, there was a one night, 2 games of girls, and Andy, your daughter, was playing in goal in one of the games, I remember. So it's an exciting time for the foundation, York City ladies, and football for girls in York in general. Have you got a question, Steve?
I guess this is a follow-on really from the first question, actually. So, having been successful in the playoffs, how, and given the obviously extended season, how much, if at all, did that affect your way of thinking in regard to recruitment for this year?
I think the big thing was that I think there's a bigger step from the Conference North into the National League than there is from the National League into League football. So it was important that we didn't retain too many players because it is a big jump. And at the end of the day, we finished 5th, we hadn't finished top. So it's important that we got players who play regularly in the conference football or above. So that was the big thing in my mindset. But also the other thing, because the season goes on for a long period of time, it's recharging your batteries as well. Not only the players, but staff as well. But because we've gone up, it was quite easy to do that.
Right, we've got about 10 more minutes before we take a short break.
Hi, which ground are you most looking forward to visiting this season?
A difficult one, really. It'd be nice to go to Wrexham and see what their ground's like now, because the last time I went, it was still it'd been run down, and so it'd be interesting to see how that looks, and obviously the support that they're getting So that was a big one, probably looking forward to. It's always nice to go to Notts County. Now, Notts County is a fantastic ground as well. Yeah, which one are you looking forward to?
Ooh, that's tough. Wembley, yeah. I got no help now, so.
That's a cop out.
Do you know where Dorking is, John?
No, but pretty soon. Yeah, I think he's a bit of a character, isn't he, the owner and manager. Yeah. So no, that'll be interesting to go there. They've done unbelievable, haven't they? It's something like 11 promotions in a short period of time. So we've gone from being like a Sunday morning team to being in the National League in a matter of 1999 they were formed, I think. So it's incredible how they've risen. But it just shows there's a lot of teams now that like Forest Green, for instance. Nobody did the Forest Green, and the amount of money that's been put in there. But I don't think of them as being proper clubs. You know, it's the same as when Rushden Diamonds were doing well. It's only a matter of time. Once the money goes out, unless they've got the support behind them, then they'll end up back where they started off. And it's just a club to support someone's ego, really, I think. But clubs like York are proper league clubs and proper football clubs. And yeah, but as you say, you can't say anything against such as Forest Green and that. They've done unbelievably well to get where they are and competing in League One now.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi John, I'm Colin. I've been a supporter for 63 years. I have a problem, and I don't know what your take on it is, but they trot out with a shirt that's got a badge on that says respect, and then spend the next 90 minutes trying to get each other sent off and cheating and diving. I'm just wondering what your take is on that.
I don't agree in that either. I'm the same as you, that you shouldn't do that. There's no way that I would encourage players to do that either. But hopefully we don't do that as a team on the whole. There's obviously within the rules of the game, you've got to try and get as big an advantage as you possibly can. But no, it's crept into the game. It's been in the game for years now. But I think with the rules as they are, that any little touch you can get booked, and it encourages it. What I do say to them is don't speak to the referee. I still don't understand why the people who run the game have not brought in that you can't speak to the referee as a player. They stop all that dissent straight away. Say, if you speak to the referee with foul language or appealing for things, you get sent off. And with an overnight, it would stop it. But for whatever reason, they don't. That goes for managers as well. I wouldn't do it if I was going to get sent off. You wouldn't, would you? It would stop.
Hi, John.
A bit of peace, wouldn't it?
Hi, John.
Hi.
You were saying about bringing new players in for this season. Which players did you and out? Which ones were the hardest ones to let go from last year's squad that you did let go?
I think it was difficult to let Matt Brown go. Clayton was a difficult one. So they were the main ones. Clayton and Brownie really. And then obviously we lost Pete and Akil, which we couldn't do anything about.
Okay, last 5 minutes, then we'll have a short break.
Hi John, right. I've got a question for you, right. Now I've been supporting on my life. My question is, how come that you don't switch goalkeepers every week?
Sorry, could you say that again? Sorry.
How come that you don't switch goalkeepers every week?
I just think it's important that you get players playing for the place, whether it's goalkeeper or whether it's centre half, full back. I think if you can get competition, that's the most important thing. And if somebody's playing well, as Ethan's done, then why would you replace him?
Hi John, it's Alan. It's to do with Ethan Ross actually. I believe he's on the season long loan from Stockport.
Yeah.
Is there any recall clauses in that, or what's the situation at the end of the season as well with that? Do they definitely want him back?
It's they've got a possible recall in December, but they assured me that unless there was a crisis at Stockport where they needed a keeper, then we would be able to retain him until the end of the season. So hopefully the true to the word. He said if another club came into for him, then they wouldn't look to get him to another club. So well, I just hope he carries on the form that he's shown at the start of the season. But say it's still early days, and say Ryan hopefully is still working hard and still looking to jump in if he even doesn't perform.
Thank you. Right, one more question to John. Who's got it? Right, Monty.
Hello. Just asking about last year's return list. You never mentioned Kirk Willoughby. Was there a reason?
No reason. Just that obviously it's all about opinions, isn't it? And obviously from because I released him, obviously you know my thoughts.
Yeah, well, it was a fan's favourite.
That's why I released him. You're shaking your head. You're shaking your head.
No, I'm not happy.
You're not happy?
I like it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see where he ends up. Okay.
Thank you, John. Thank you for answering honestly, in detail. Have you enjoyed it? That's your first York City Fans Forum?
Yeah, obviously it's been easy because we've got promoted and we've won our first game. Sometimes it's not so easy. Yeah, it's been quite jovial tonight. But hopefully every time we have one of these, it'll be the same. But football's not always like that. But all I can ask you is that we'll continue to try and work as hard as we can. Sometimes things go for you, sometimes they don't. But always remember that the players respond better when you get behind them. It's like myself, if I criticise them all the time, then they won't perform for you. So for me, the secret is in the name supporter. And you want the same as what we want. And players don't go out there to perform poorly. And there'll be times when they do, and that's when they need you most. When things are going great, I don't need anybody. But when things are not going so good, that's when you need people pulling together. And hopefully, as a club now, we're doing that. Because when I first come in, it wasn't a pleasant place to be. But now it is. And it's important to try and keep that, no matter what. I think you enjoy it more. I think if you come and you have that attitude, rather than the negative attitude, you do enjoy it more. It's easy for me to say, because we're all there. I get annoyed when I'm watching and moan and whatever, but there's certain times in the game when you can sense it, and just try and get everybody behind the players, and so that would be my message. Okay.
Well, thank you for what you've done so far. Good luck for the rest of the season. John Askey. Well, we took a short break to recharge your batteries, and it's the second half of the business side of the club with Glen and Alastair. Thank you.
Hey up, mate. Good. Let me just mute this. I don't know how to mute it. There we go.
So it's the non-playing side, but the business side, which I suppose includes things like budgets, commercial, prices, business plans.
You're getting off then, mate. You're getting off.
And if I can ask you please to welcome our chairman, Glen Henderson, Chief Executive, Alastair Smith.
See you tomorrow.
Right, first question, raise your hands please. We've got a question here.
Hi, my name's Claire. I have a question generally about the microphones, which, as Rob's something to say, speak right into it, might be. On a match day, we're in the West Stand. We've got season tickets in the West Stand. Barely ever hear anything that goes on at half-time. Microphones by half-time just are cutting out all the time. Can't hear when we've got ex-players there, they're talking, and you just hear every other word if you're lucky. Maybe the amount of times I've had to put on Facebook to ask for the numbers from the draw, 50-50 draw. I did ask the question to the previous regime and got told it was a council issue, but I'm hoping that you guys might be able to fix something so that when we're sat in the West Ham we can actually hear the announcement. Be good.
Okay, thanks. I'll take that one. Okay, so there was a review, we did a review last Saturday, and there are certain areas in the stadium that need turning up, we believe. So there's an amplifier room down in the bowels of the stadium, which I don't think anybody's ever been in to sort of adjust. And I know that when there's a lot of noise in the stadium, certain stands need to have a louder sort of noise level. So in the east stand here, it's loud and you can hear all the time. But I'm aware from the south stand, because that's where I tend to have been sat, there's a lot of noise and it's difficult to hear. So we're working on that, we've got some ideas, and hopefully you'll see some improvements, maybe for the next game, but I'm not promising anything.
Thank you, Alastair. Just to make you aware, this equipment we're using tonight has actually been brought in. This is not stadium equipment, so that's just an indication of perhaps some. Right, next question, please. Hands up, Graham Bradbury.
Thank you for the introduction. We'll go straight for it. Ticketing and the problems with the ticketing website and also with the stadium management company. Can you first of all explain to us, do the football club own stadium management company? Are they part of us?
Yes, the football club at the moment owns the stadium management company. Yes.
Right. Season tickets, photo ID, goes in, I hold my hand up, I'd forgotten my photo ID. I had my receipt for the tickets and for the 4 other people who were my friends and family. I was not allowed to take any of the tickets unless I had photo ID for all of them. In the same vein, another chap who sits in front of us, season ticket holder in the East Stand, he couldn't make it to the club on Wednesday, came down on Thursday, no one in the office, no customer in the office, goes up, said, can I have my season ticket? I've got my photo ID. No, sorry, we aren't doing the East Stand today. It's only the South Stand on Thursday. You should have been here yesterday. I couldn't get here yesterday. He had to go out without his ticket. It's a long way out of the city of York. Now, it isn't just like popping into town and coming down to the club. For the majority of us now, it's a travelling job to get down here. Your thoughts?
So my thoughts on this is for the last month I've been sitting back and watching how everything has been ran, myself and Alastair, because it's a very big undertaking. There's lots going on at the club that people obviously don't know much about, and basically it's like running 4 businesses all in one. Okay, the way the SMC was set up was that the previous regime wanted to own the SMC. No one knew how to run it, and so they came to the previous regime and said, hey, we need somebody who thinks they know what they're doing with ticketing. Will you do it? So they didn't realize obviously what the big undertaking was in order to
do all of this electronically. I believe they had a lot of issues. They came back in. They changed everything. There's some really good people running the show there right now. And I believe a lot of the issues from last year have been resolved, if I'm correct. There are still some that, obviously, as we go along in this process, we're going to have to look at. Myself and Alastair in talks about this every day. But there are new things that we have to implement because of certain things that have happened in the past. So it's an ongoing process. It's nothing we can actually fix right there and then, because there's a lot of system behind it. So we're learning as we go. Would you like to add a little?
Just addressing specifically your question about the ID, the reason that we were asking for the ID, or the SMC were asking for ID, and the football club were asking for ID, was to make sure we didn't give the wrong ticket to the wrong people. So that was one part. The other part was for anybody that had a concession, whether it was for old age or young age, was to make sure that they were actually entitled to that. And we did have a number of people that had accidentally bought the wrong ticket, and when they were challenged with the ID, they actually then paid the difference to the right ticket. And interesting enough, we also had some people who were just paying the adult price $2.99 who had given the wrong name. So the name wasn't actually as per their photo ID. Not sure why, but what that would do is if ever they had done something wrong, it would have meant that we didn't really know who they were. So that's the reason why I think we asked for the photo ID.
Right, I'm glad you said that, because I know it's hard to believe I am actually a concession. And they did ask for my ID, but actually on the computer, on the website, I'm registered as an adult, and it will not change it to a concession. And that goes for all my friends and family, the group that I have, which is Kev next door and another lad. We are concessions, but it has us as adults, and it will not change.
You have to go into this shop and ask them.
I have been into the shop and asked them, and I am still an adult.
Well, first of all, I'm sure the only reason you're a concession is because the age came down from 65 to 60. I have to admit, I've got no idea why, but I will follow that up.
I'm not the only person this happens.
Yeah, see if we can figure out why that is happening and showing up as an adult rather than a concession on the system.
Alastair, in my IT professional capacity, that is basic system configuration. It's not difficult, and whether it's a training issue or whatever it is, it's fairly easy to fix.
Yeah. So we will take that up. We'll take this away from here, and we'll figure it out. We'll come back to you.
Before I lose the mic, is there any way we can have the ticket office and the club shop open at the same time, so that if somebody goes for a ticket, they can buy something from the shop, or vice versa? It seems nonsensical that if somebody goes in for a ticket, they want to buy a scarf or a teddy bear, they can't. That's my question.
Yeah, no, that's good feedback, and something we can definitely take away and have a look at and see what we can do on that, for sure. So thanks for the feedback.
Thank you, Graham. Next question, sir.
Hi Glenn, my name's John. Is there a nice easy one for you? Is there any possibility of getting that clock to go past 90 minutes on a match day?
Now, I have some experience in this in America as well. All these stands or these clocks, they only go to 90 minutes. Or to the game, whatever they've programmed it to the game. I don't know whether there has to be another setting, because that's why they hold the 3-minute, 4-minute board up and things like that, right, for extra time. I don't know whether or not there is a setting to actually make it run or not, but most scoreboards, it's set. This is, you know, in American football, they play 80 minutes, whatever it is. It's set and that's it. And it runs down and that's it.
I believe it's a rule that you can't go beyond 90 because then you're on the pressure on the referee and everyone's looking at you going, you put 5 minutes up and we're now 97. So I think, Dan, I don't know if you know from
that's
a media point
correct.
of view, I don't think you can go past the 90. Are you nodding at me, Dan? Or
Yeah,
not?
correct.
Correct, yeah, I don't think you can because it goes outside the rules and the pressure on the referee. Is that okay? Next question, please. One at the back.
Hi, my name's Donna, and I'm just wondering about season ticket or for season ticket prices for children aged between 12 and 16. My daughter turns 13 in mid-season, so I've had to pay an extra £60 for her season ticket. And most 16-year-olds, well, between 12 and 16, rely on their parents to fund, and it's, you know, £60 difference is massive from 45.
Well, the season ticket prices were set obviously before we came in, and this is obviously something we'll definitely take into consideration and have to have a look at. That's basically all we can say on that. You know,
We've paid just under £900 for us to have our season tickets because we've had an increase on 2 season tickets, which is £120, and it's a lot of money, especially with our living. But you know, our children enjoy coming to football, but if prices keep rising the way they are, it's going to come to a point where they won't be able to come and enjoy something they enjoy doing on Saturday because of the price of the season ticket.
well, I will add one thing about season ticket prices. I was looking at them over the weekend to actually see where we stood compared to other clubs in the league, and we're actually in the bottom third. We're lying about 7th cheapest compared to everybody else in the league when it comes to an adult admission.
Yeah, not for children though.
We'll definitely look into the children as well then.
You know, because as I said, 16-year-old, well, you know, they're studying school, they're studying education.
Right.
And I know that before, when we was at Booth and Pleasant, they were cheaper than what we're paying now.
We'll definitely look into it.
Okay, we've got a question over here.
So I'm Lewis. This is more of a long-term thing, but how is the club planning to increase attendances beyond just going up the divisions? I know the classic one's kids for a quid, which I don't know how effective that actually is, but getting new fans into the club, especially young people, but then going to turn into adult fans that are definitely going to pay full price.
We're starting to work a little closer with the foundation on a lot of things. When I first came into the club, myself and Alastair sat down and had a look at how things are running, and the foundation has been pretty separated from us. We've moved a staff member across to liaise between the foundation and us to see how can we get more people into the club, how can we offer things for the young kids to get the fans coming through as well. So that is one of the big goals of ours, is to look at that and say, how can we do this? Because future generations are very important at the club. We're going, and right now the fan base is really good, you know, because of obviously what's happening on the pitch and the takeover and things like that. So we will definitely have a plan. Again, we've been in this a month, and you know, we're going through every single department and seeing how can we fix things and how can we move things forward in a very, very positive direction. And that goes with the girls' game as well. That goes with girls' leagues. That goes with boys' leagues. All these things. We open the cages on the weekend because we're trying to see if we can attract the young kids to come again and play. So all these things we're working through to try and create a better experience for everybody to come to again.
All right, I'm coming down to the front again.
Hi guys, I've got 2 quick questions, if that's okay. The first question, I'm a season ticket holder in the South Stand. I'm part of a local grassroots junior football club, Drexel Tigers. The group that I come with is parents, coaches, kids, there's quite a lot of us. And Most of us got season tickets, but not some, due to other commitments or financial commitments. Last season it worked really well, whether you were a season ticket holder or not, because it was unallocated seating. You were guaranteed to sit together, because you want to sit with your mates, or the boys want to sit with each other. This season that can't happen, so the people that aren't season ticket holders think, oh, it's allocated seating. Is that something that can be looked at to guarantee that you can sit with your mates week in, week out, whether they can come or not? And then the second question, just riding off the back of the Lionesses that's taken account, and this is maybe more the foundation that look at this. There's a brilliant annual boys tournament that takes place at Wigginton Road at the training ground. There's not one for girls. Can we have one for girls, please?
Taking the easier answer first. So for the second question, yeah, sure, we can have a look at that, no problem. I think the allocated seating in the South Stand is a little bit more difficult. End of last season, there were a few problems with some of the behaviour of the fans, running on the pitch, throwing things on the pitch. And having allocated seating actually makes it easier to be able to use the CCTV to identify anybody that does do anything wrong. I understand the problems that causes for people who either were in the David Longhurst, where, if there was, you want to be with your friends, you could stand anywhere. If somebody was annoying you, you could move 10 feet away. Last season, absolutely the same thing happened. But, I think what we need to do is to get some more education to some of our fans to make sure that we're not standing on seats, not licking seats, not getting on the pitch, not falling out with stewards. If we can prove that we're getting there and we're educating people, then we have a case to go back to say, yeah, look how our supporters' behaviour has improved. Can we please go back to unallocated seating? And this might be an opportunity for me to bring in a question that's bound to come up. Seems to come up a lot, is around having some sort of safe standing. So, I don't know if everyone's aware, but when we got the loan to buy Bootham Crescent, which was going to turn into a grant once we got this stadium built, one of the covenants was that we had to have all-seater stadium. And that probably has been a harsher covenant than a lot of other clubs have had to face since then. But I know Jason did a lot of work to try and get them to change their mind. But the FSIF weren't interested. We've kind of moved on now, where any club can have safe standing after they did the successful trial last year. So I've been talking to Malcolm Clark from the Football Supporters Association with a view to saying, can he help us remove this covenant from what is the grant now? The answer is Malcolm's definitely going to help us, and he thinks that we're probably the only club that couldn't have safe standing as things stand at the moment. So trying to get that covenant removed, we think is possible. But that will then lead us on to the next issue, which is obviously to put safe standing in there is going to cost a lot of money. So, I mean, we've had estimates, figures bandied around that I've heard up to 250,000 just to do the South Stand. So, as much as we want it, we're not in a position at the moment to spend £250,000 on the stand. Neither the council are going to pay for it. If we want it, we're going to have it. They have to pay for it. The rugby club, they're not really bothered either way. They tend to use the East Stand here. So once we are free of that covenant, we will communicate that to people and let you know that that is the status. Then we'll have to think, well, okay, what can we do? How can we do it? And take it from there. But that is something that we are actively working on at the moment.
And the next question.
Thank you, Anthony. I'm sure it's been a baptism of fire, coming to the club and getting involved and doing your due diligence. So I've got a general question, what are the biggest issues or priorities that you've facing you at the moment as an executive team? And second, a more specific question about the matchday experience. Have you any plans to develop or open a social club bar within the facility? You look at the likes of Macclesfield and Boston seem to have developed really sort of nice facilities for fans on match day. So yeah, two questions there.
Sure. So the answer to your first question is one of the biggest problems we have at the moment is the number of contracts that are linked together with the football club. Okay, there's a contract from the council to the stadium management company. There's a contract from the stadium management company to us. Then the nights are involved. There's also one for catering. So as this whole process has gone through and they've built the stadium, everything has got intertwined. We can do one thing, we think we can do one thing, and then we can't do one thing. So for the last month, we're having to try and piece together exactly what we can do, what we can do for the football club, what's the best way for us to move forward and things like that. The answer to the social club question is the trust does have maybe an opportunity to look at for something outside the stadium. As far as inside the stadium goes, we were looking at this room, but we could only open up this room after the matches. The problem is that we're bound by stewards and we're bound by cleaners and we're bound by staff members, and the money that it would take to keep it open probably, we wouldn't create any money. So we're looking at these kind of things. It's very tough. It's the way the stadium has been built. I'm not going to cookie cut it here. The stadium is built wrong. Okay, everybody knows that. Everybody comes to the games. Everybody sees what happens down at halftime and all these things. And I've spent time down there in pre-season games. I've seen what's going on. It's going to take us a lot of effort and a lot of meetings and a lot of banging down doors to try and get what you guys are asking for. It's not saying we're not going to try. We are going to try, because we're trying to create a much better experience for the fans to come here. We don't want people waiting for drinks. We don't want people, missing the whistle at halftime, this kind of stuff. But the way it's designed creates these opportunities. That's all I can really say, to be honest. So everything is bound by a contract. We go through those contracts. Our job is probably going to be to sift through every single contract, find out exactly where we are, and then move forward from there with what we can do, what we can't do, and what we can tackle, and what's the most important things to tackle.
Thanks once again. I think I hope that everybody will appreciate the efforts you're putting in and be patient with you, because we know that your heart's in the right place.
Thank you. Thank you.
That arm up over there, up to you.
Good evening, Andrew. Twofold question. One, I've been a player sponsorship for the last 4 years, promised all sorts, got very, very little, had to do chasing players of my own. That's the first question. The price has gone up, so I've done it again this year, but see what happens. It's a new regime. And then the last thing I just want to mention is the season tickets for the car parking. Yes, last year we had a little card. I know that was awkward to work. And now we've got this paper thing like Centre Parks and Haven do, where you just hang it on your windscreen on your. And I'm sure by the time we get to Christmas, most of those will be crunched up, lost, broken, split, cut. It just seems a bit amateurish.
All I can say is that wasn't under my regime.
This year's parking, is it?
No. Yeah, I saw exactly what you were given. I'm hoping they're very, very well laminated so that they last for the season.
They're not.
They're not.
We've extra laminated ours, just in case.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, we'll have to just make sure we have some spare, try and fix that. You know, these are things that we're probably going to have to look at next year because they've already been done for this year. Or, you know, we might be able to go back to the old system. I'd have to check to see how the old system ran.
Okay, thank you. We've got one question here, then we'll go to the front.
Hi, it's Andy. It's just going back to about the hospitality, about the bar. Last season we came in a couple of times for a drink. It was £5 to get in, and then another time we did the hospitality. We sat down and had something to eat in here. It was fantastic, but the PA was terrible, which you know, she wasn't using that. But when we had a drink, when we came just paid a £5 for a drink, we were in the bar behind us there, and we couldn't hear anything. There's no PA that's piped through to there, and you could correct me, but has it actually gone up from £5 to £9.50 to do that?
Yes.
Well, what do we get for nearly double? Because it wasn't very good last. I enjoyed some of the ex-players, but they didn't come into that bar. If you're in here, you're okay, but it seems a bit much, £9.50 just to have a drink.
You are right, it has gone up to £9.50. I think really the £5 last year was like an introductory offer just to get people used to this. We weren't making any contribution towards the club at £5. We were giving a programme away, and people were coming up here, and of course that £5 includes 20% VAT, so it wasn't actually £5, and I can't do the maths, so I'm not going to. So what we've done is we've put it up, but I think, I don't know about the speaker is always in here, I appreciate that, and I don't know whether people can come through from the other room, or how that works. I would need to look into that.
When Graham used to have the guests at the old Booth and Crescent, he used to get the guest of the day to go and visit all the hospitality boxes. So it was, you know, you got to know them, whereas we were in that bar, and I think it was Guy Mowbray was on, and we had, you know, we didn't hear anything. There's no speaker piped through, there's no video, there's nothing. So it was just £5 to have a drink. So now it's £9.50 to have a drink.
It is, and you get a programme thrown in as well, I believe, which is worth £3 this year. But we'll take that away, and we'll figure out with Liam, our commercial manager, if there's some way we can get either the speakers put through there, or maybe have our guests going through into the different rooms. We just need to work them a bit harder.
If it's Dennis Smith, I'll pay £9.50.
You'll play £99.50.
Yeah, if it's Dennis Smith, it'll be £19.50.
Hi gents, it's Dave. On the back of the question that's just been asked, there was talk of maybe knocking the wall through behind us so you could have the whole experience instead of having the speaker, then you could make this room bigger. Because people were in there and it was like they're in a different place because the experience was totally different. So is there anything you could do with the wall behind to make the whole room bigger and then you'd feel as one?
I'll be honest, I hadn't heard the idea of knocking that wall down, but I would think that in some of the other rooms we've got a folding wall, and that really would have been ideal for a folding wall, because if you added that other room, the Yorvik room, to this room, the LNER room, would have had one massive room that would have been fantastic for events and other things. So I can see the logic why we would want to do that. We would need to talk to I guess GLL and the council to find out if that's possible at all.
Thank you. And regarding the price, I was in the South Stand on Saturday, and that was apparent where you saw a massive, large blue area where all the corporate were going. So that told you people were coming in the corporate because of the double in price. So that area outside was empty while all the east end was quite full. So people have not been wanting to pay the extra because they've already paid for the £300 for the season ticket. So is there any way you can look at that? Because I think you could just see it when looking from the south stand, the whole area was totally empty, all the game. So people were coming for the extra price.
Yeah, but if you'd come in here, you'd have seen this room was absolutely packed as well. I think there are some people who already have their season tickets in other areas of the East Stand that come in hospitality and then go and sit in their seat where they want to sit rather than in these blue seats. So I think it's a pretty good deal, and especially with the food. You know, we're now charging £51.50 or something. It's on the sheets you've got where you can come in and get a meal, and you know. We think that's a good offering, a lot cheaper than a lot of other clubs that we've been comparing ourselves with. So I think everybody's got a voucher where, you know, the first 100 people will give them 15% off if they want to come and try these facilities. So
just the last one from me. The boxes have gone up. We got one last year, we got two last year, they were £600. And they've actually gone up, and you get 2 courses now, so you get less for more money. And also the experience is totally separate from this room. Is there any way where you could, if the player is in here talking to the crowd, is there any way that them players or someone from the club could come into the boxes? Because it's absolutely totally separate, and no one comes in. You don't have any feedback, no nothing. It's just you pay that amount of money, which we didn't mind. But you're actually getting 2 courses now instead of 3 to pay more, and yet it's a totally separate experience in here than it is in the boxes.
yeah, I mean, again, it's a bit like the other room, so we can take that away and look at it and try and make that a much better experience for anybody that does hire a box. So certainly have somebody from the club come through, if not the guest speaker. So we can take that away and look into it.
I saw some hands up round here. I'll come to you, Graham, in a minute.
I heard regarding my season ticket, I'm a disabled and I sit in the west stand, east stand, well, on far side, in the disabled seats right at the top. Now, none of them seats are numbered. Now, at the beginning of last season, they'll all be numbered, you'll get a set seat. That never happened. The crowds wasn't as great last season, so there was always spare seats. Saturday was different. There must have been 20 wheelchairs up there. And 5 of us all had the same 2 seats. We had 27 and 28, so did somebody else, but there were no seats numbered, so you didn't know where the hell 27 and 28 was. Why can't you just put sticky labels on the back of the seats with simple numbers on that match your season ticket? It's like first come, first served. And it's not fair. In fact, it's a shambles.
It's not very apt thing to call it. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would say we weren't aware that that was the case. So thank you for bringing it to our attention. We can take that away and try and get that sorted for the next league game.
I'll buy you a sticky label if you want.
I might hold you to that.
We've got his address, you're all right.
Right, just following on, it's Graham again. Just following on from what a lot of the other comments have come out regarding the hospitality in here and the ground. Older than you, Alan. I agree with you that the ground is super, but it's been built wrong. Certainly, I mean, so the people on the west stand can't see behind the goal, go behind the goal and see the montage, the whirlwind wall, everything that's been done there. It is unfortunate. However, hospitality in here, my match day experience used to be I'd go for a coffee before the game, but I always like a drink afterwards. And if you come in here afterwards, now your last drink is 5:30. Well, I want to watch the football results and talk about it. Surely other people want to do that. You go out of here, Hollywood Bowl is packed with people waiting for the bus to go home or before they get in the car. You go on the coastline or into town or into the bus into town, and the Fosgate is filled with City fans. We are missing out on a trick on not having the fans here before and after the game because there's nowhere suitable. Like has been alluded before, Boston, File, absolutely brilliant to go for the fan bases both before and afterwards. Yes, and I think you're going to say about the trust have this option of something that we need, a supporters bar without an expensive £9.50 to come in for a pint programme. The other thing, at the last forum, we were hoodwinked into telling us we had to leave booth and present because the new ground would bring us new income streams, massive, massive income streams. We went to the forums at Askey where we were asked, the first question that was asked of Tony McAndrew and Dave Penny, what are the income streams going to be at the new ground? Ooh, that's a hard one. Mr. Penny came out with that famous quote now as well, but there will be face painting. We haven't even had face painting there as well.
I'll give you some face painting on Saturday if you'd like.
What are the income streams going to tell?
Was there a question in there?
He wants his face painted. So do we. The bar closed them down. I mean, 40 minutes after the game, people had told me after the game.
So there's contracts, as we know, and in the contracts there's times. And if we go over those times, we get charged. So if we hear an extra 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever it is, we're now having to pay for the staff members that are around. So if people hang around, are they they're not kicking you out, are they? It's just...
They say your last order.
You're saying last orders, okay, yeah. But if we do go over those time frames, the club is now being charged because in the contract that was never negotiated for us to have longer times here.
I accept that.
This goes back a bit to what we were saying earlier, where we actually looked at having a system where people could come out of the ground and then we could, a lot of people that are in this room go home straight away. It leaves this room fairly empty. Can we bring people up and have them drinking? Can we use the York Lounge as well? We would need to have a reasonable uptake of people to make that, financially viable. We get a percentage of the beer sales, whether it be in here or down on the concourse, and it's limited. And I know the prices are too expensive, but as soon as we go and say beer costs too much, they say, well, you forego your percentage and we'll put the price down, which doesn't help anybody. But we have looked into this option, and we were told that we would need to have a steward downstairs, a steward up the top here. We would need to limit it to the legal number of people for this room, which I think would probably be somewhere between 200 and 300 because you've got tables, but you haven't got as many people sitting down. So, just out of interest, if this were open after the game, would people want to stay till 6 o'clock? Or would people want to be interested in staying in here, having a drink and watching the Premier League game that's on after we finish? So, show of hands, who would be interested in coming here after the game till 6 o'clock? With the football, well, assuming it's Sky Sports and not BT.
We need something before.
And who would be willing to stay here till, the game normally finishes at what, 7:30? Who would be interested in staying here till, say, 7:30 and then going home afterwards? Okay. So, can we have a show of hands? Who'd be willing to drink 6 beers in an hour to make it all fun? Oh, we've got one plan to... Oh. I think you're a little bit too young. No, but seriously, there is a cost involved, and if, you know, you guys are saying, hey, yeah, we would support that, then we will take some steps to put that on and see if we get the support and make it all worthwhile.
Who signed the contract with CSEC, with Craig and Gelfie, and how long is the contract for? Can you tell us that?
Well, with CGC, I don't think I can tell you.
See, they have a monopoly in your, with the racecourse, with here,
Yeah.
they can hold, they choose.
I believe that the contract is with GLL and CGC. It's certainly not our contract. I think it's with GLL. Length, I don't actually know what the contract length is.
Yeah, the contract is with GLL. It can be up for review based on certain criteria if they're not meeting certain things. So, you know, if they're not meeting them, we can bring it up and try and work our way through it. The one problem we might have is finding somebody who's willing to take on the contractor, because it is a very in-depth, different contract where everybody gets a piece of the pie. So if we do get someone else to take it on, would the prices change or would the prices go up? We don't know.
Hi, Mike Brown, Chairman of the Supporters Trust. I just wanted to jump in on a couple of points. I mean, fundamentally, what a fantastic stadium this is. What a battle we've had over many years to get us to this point. I think it's important to remember two things. First of all, when the council laid out the plans to build this place, they actively pushed out the Supporters Trust. They didn't have a proper public consultation at all. And then at the end of the process, they said, well, we've done a full public consultation. So it was inevitable somewhat that a lot of the themes that are coming up tonight are about the fans not quite getting the experience they want. And that's no surprise, and that's why a year ago the Trust announced initial plans or an ambition to open a bar in the close vicinity around the stadium. And the only way we could make that commercially viable is to do a 365 kind of operation. That is progressing, and there is still work going into that. But in terms of what we do here, I would just sort of ask everybody to go back a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, and have a look at the vision and mission statement that we put out, that the Trust and Glen jointly put out. Because at the heart of everything, of course, is giving fans the experience they want. But at the same time, the other part of the vision is to have a sustainable football club. And the challenge that these guys have got, I chose not to rejoin the board for my own reasons. I mean, the chairman's a busy man, you know. But the challenge these guys have got is actually striking that balance in some very complicated, restrictive contracts to break through all of that and give the fans what they want, but also deliver a financially sustainable football club. And we as a group, the Trust Board, the Club Board, the SMC, and all the other parties can't make that happen. It's to a great extent over to you guys to keep coming, keep spending your money, drag other people, kicking and screaming, grab your neighbours, grab your family, your friends. If they've never been down here, if they've never seen a football match, if they've never seen York City, drag them along, get them to experience the buzz that we all had on Saturday, the buzz we had in the playoff finals. So I think we've all got a role to play, that's the main point. And so far, you know, these guys have only been in post for a month, and the amount of work they've done is absolutely phenomenal. So, you know, I just really wanted to sort of pick that up and say, you know, we've now got our football club back, all of us, and we've all got to do our bit, and we all do. You know, everybody here does their own bits and pieces, but I would just say, you know, we collectively will do everything we can to give you what you want. You know, it needs a bit of patience. I think that's the main point. I'm going to hand back to Rob.
Thanks, Matt. I'm conscious, sorry, we've got about just under 10 minutes, and I have promised 2 people who haven't spoken tonight the mic, so we'll go with those 2. If we've got time, we'll go to others. So we'll start with you, sir.
Hi, it's Andrew. It's a question for Glenn. You were born in Hartlepool, raised in South Africa, lived in America. I know you lived in York for a few years because your son Ethan's mates with my son Alex. But why York City? Why come to York City? What do you see in York City? You're a businessman. Are you planning on making a profit out of the club? Or what's the reason for being involved in York?
Well, you know, when you grow up as a youngster and you want to be a professional footballer and you're around football all the time, and it might not happen for you, but you get pretty close. Sometimes there's just a pathway that, you know, life cycle of what might happen to you. Luckily for me, I've always wanted to be in football. You know, my businesses have always been sport-based, and I've always loved the city. You know, even though I've lived in South Africa and lived everywhere, every single time I came back, I'd come back to England, we would come to York. My wife is American, loves York. She said, we got to go to York. When I'm here, I watch the games, watch the matches. I love the experience at Bootham because I believe football is all about people, and it's all about the history behind it, and there's massive history here. And even, for me, it's not about a team that's doing well or anything like that. It's about seeing the town, city, people, wherever you live, supporting their little clubs. If you go to Selby Town, you've got 1,600 people showing up trying to support this little football club. So, you know, for a football club, it was always one of my goals to make money out of it. Does anyone make money out of it? I mean, you know, the goal is to keep the club sustainable, and so that if I do leave the club someday, when Alastair retires again, you know, that it's a good club, that someone will come in and go, you know what, it's not underwater, it's ran well, it's a family club, everybody sticks together, it's a great fan base. You know, it's about building the community and the football. And it was the right time for me to get back into something and challenge myself. So, you know, York City, it's always been there. It's always been one of those clubs, you know. Someone asked me the other day, I was in a Football Memories, and they said to me, why did you buy Hartlepool? And I said, I tried, they just didn't want me to. But actually, you know, this club, you know, I've watched it through the years. My son played here, got good memories, and yeah, it's just, you know, when you're a business guy, you always look at things and you see how things are ran. And you always think, can I better that? Can I do this? Can I move this along? And fix certain things. And it's all, you know, and I'm just lucky that it's in football. And you know, I am football as well, so it's a dream come true, really.
Maybe the final question of the evening from Terry.
Hi guys, welcome, and all the best with your endeavours. 2 questions refunded really. How realistic do you think it is that we can run break even for a club at this level? And if, as I expect, there will be times where we need additional investment, is the agreement that Glen, you provide 51% and the trust 49%?
I think on the first question about the sustainability, having looked at the detailed accounts, I think it's going to be tough, I'll be honest with you. And I think this year, more than any other year, we started off with a few headwinds that I guess we weren't really aware of we were going to face. But what you've got to focus on is getting bums on seats, looking at the advertising and sponsorship opportunities and growing that area. Hospitality is going to be vital for us. I think, we're already in some negotiations for potential new shirt sponsor for next year, which could be, I think, lucrative for us. I think we're looking at, shirt sales this season have been phenomenal. So thank you to everybody that's bought a shirt. I think we've sold well over 3,500 shirts, probably heading towards 4,000 now, and that makes a big difference as well. And then Glenn mentioned earlier the new Jumbotron that we hope to get. Well, Spennymoor make around £80,000 a year from their TV. So if they can do that, we can do better. So that's new income stream that we've never had before. And there are other opportunities around this stadium that we're looking at. Say, can we do something here? Can we do something there? But we need to focus on making sure we sell the club, we sell the brand, and we sell it as wide as we can. If we do that, we can make it sustainable for the long-term future, which is kind of where all football clubs should be heading in the future. I think that there's only so many people that have got deep pockets that can go on forever subsidising football clubs. And as John, I think, said earlier, you've got teams where they are being subsidised, and if Forest Green was one he mentioned, if that owner stops spending his money, then that team will just fall back down the football pyramid. We don't want to be there. We want to get into the Football League, if at all possible, in the next few years. There's a lot more money to come in if you're in the Football League than there is when you're in the National League here. So, yeah, we've got to just drive the club forward in the right manner without ever risking the club's sort of status, and that's our responsibility to make sure we never do that.
If and when additional funding is
Yeah, the funding will be raised obviously by myself and obviously by the trust as well, looking at certain things. They're doing certain initiatives and things like that. So if it gets to that, yes.
Right, that's the end of the second hour. Thank you for your great turnout tonight. If you are travelling to Maidstone or Solihull, safe journeys. Hope you bring back the 3 points in your back pocket. If not...
Can I just cut you off? I'd just like to thank everybody for taking the time to come out tonight. This is my first, fan experience, which is great. I'm sure some of you have seen me walk around the stand before, every match. I try and say hello to everybody, make sure they have a great experience. And I think, I'm super, super happy with the turnout we had in the first game. And I'm sure you guys are super, super happy with the result we got in the first game. I just hope that we can keep, getting more and more bums in seats, people who really want to be here. We have to sell the experience to them. But I'm very, very grateful for you guys to taking your night, tonight and coming out here and supporting the club and keep supporting the club. Thank you.
Yes, it's Stone with Thunder. I was just about to say at the end of my bit, any closing remarks? Next home game, Eastleigh, Saturday the 20th. There is a train strike, so hopefully you can still get here. But thank you for your attendance, and finally, Alastair and Liam have got plenty of notes and action items to come out of those questions. And a big hand, please, for Glen and Alastair.
Yeah, I know. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, I'll post loads, don't worry. Thank you.